My next favorite banned book, And the Band Played On by Randy Schultz. This bad boy is big. It's a big book. It is thorough, and frankly, it has 8-point type. I'm glad I read this when I was younger. Yeah, I'd have to have the bigger version of it. But you can also see the browning of it and how I circle certain parts of it. This has been, in fact, in Porn and Pong, my own banned book, I end up citing it a lot in the second chapter, which talks about HIV and the AIDS epidemic, and coinciding with a lot of the births that were happening in the video game industry in the very early to mid 80s. And that was also, again, an era when I was around my youngest son's age. I was around 8. And the impact that it had as far as that epidemic, which is still going on, by the way, let's be clear. It's not past tense. But that had a tremendous impact on my sexuality and sexuality of everyone around me. Because as kids, you're looking at it and it's like, well, I actually could die from being intimate with someone. And if you're around at that time and you're an adult, adults were freaking out. So you can imagine, being an elementary school kid, being a middle school kid, and just starting to get into your feelings, starting to understand your body and stuff. And it's like, the wrong decision could kill me. That was the discussion at the time. The discussion matured rapidly when this book came out. I remember. And the discussion point around where HIV and AIDS came from, the politics, quite literally, that prevented people from getting help, and the faces and the journeys behind so many people who lost that fight, who passed away for reasons that could have been prevented or at least delayed. With all the politics around it, with all the egos, they get into the fight between American scientists and French scientists. And you might have seen the movie. I know Alan Alda was in it and some other major actors. You might have saw the movie on HBO that came out in the early 90s. It still can't. It was a fantastic movie. I think it might have been a miniseries. It was a very long movie, but it can't touch this one. Randy was amazing. I think he passed away quite a few years ago, so rest in peace to him. Fantastic book. Controversial book. Shocker. Because number one, it talked about gay lives. Gay, and also I think there are some bisexual men in here as well. Gay and bi lives, part of the LGBTQ plus spectrum, as we would call it today. That tagline didn't exist back in the 80s. So that alone, made it a controversial book. I think it might have been banned in some countries. It might still be banned in some countries. The real controversy, though, funny enough, was not the sexuality or the orientation of it. I can say that about a book, the orientation of the book, but really about the politics behind it. And we had I'm speaking from a very American, US-centric viewpoint right now, but it'll make sense in a second. We had some really shady folks here, and folks that were worried about tenure and how they looked in the public and all that stuff, and that took priority over literally, at that point, thousands of people dying. Maybe hundreds of people dying a week, if not at its peak a day. And it wasn't just US, it was worldwide. Again, if you were there, if you're one of my younger viewers, again, I got the gray hair, so if you're one of my younger viewers and you're in your 30s or younger and you literally weren't around when the HIV or AIDS epidemic was at its peak, as far as people being scared, poopless, try to keep it clean, you should absolutely grab this book. Absolutely. Don't watch the movie. Grab the book. Take your time with it. It is worth the absolute time. If you end up grabbing Porn and Pong, sorry, got five different books, 3 different mics here. If you end up grabbing Porn and Pong, Again, I cited directly a few times in there, including interaction related to politics. We got an election coming up here in America in, 6 weeks as of this recording. If you're watching it live in 6 weeks, number one, please register to vote. Number two, if you want to understand why politics matter, you got to read this book, or at least see the excerpt in my own book, Porn and Pong, and you can actually see why they matter. They matter so much. And there's some heartbreaking stuff in there that, it's heavy on the heart. It is not an easy book to read, not because of the skill of the writing. The writing is excellent. It's more because of the topic in itself, and it's tough. Speaking of doing some tough listening, if you want to understand more about dealing with the heavier emotional things, and I think that's the reason why some of these books are banned, because we're not equipped for that. Go ahead and check out my earlier live show, The Best Emotional Intelligence Books Out Right Now. I think that would help you understand how to deal with uncomfortable emotions, whether it's in regards to what other people do or to our very uncomfortable history, and that's America or elsewhere. Wherever you live in the world, there's some uncomfortable history there. I can guarantee you that. So how to process those things. And a lot of that uncomfortable emotional history comes from us not knowing how to deal with our emotions, right? Whether you're a frustrated artist that didn't get into school, or you're someone that feels inadequate because of their height, their entire wars that are based on that. If you know your history, you know who I'm talking about. Good place to go to from here. Again, we're talking about banned books today. My favorite banned books, sponsored by Shortform, the ultimate book reader. Get a free trial and get 20% off their annual subscription. I don't know how long it's going to last, so I'd take advantage if I were you. And be sure to check out Banned Books Week, which is happening right now as we speak. And I have lists of my favorite banned books. You don't have to write down all those squigglies or letters. One of these days, the URLs will get easier, but we're not at the point yet. We have AI and we're trying to get to Mars, but we still got a million different letters in the URLs. All the URLs are below. You don't have to take notes. Save your hands. I'm entrepreneur coach Damon Brown. I help you as a side hustler, solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're listening to the Bring Your Worth or watching the Bring Your Worth show, bringyourworth.tv. Most Wednesdays, always live. And Wednesdays, 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, you subscribe for free. I'm curious, what has been the most uncomfortable book you've ever read? This was up there. I'm not gonna lie. And again, it's a thick book. This comes to mind. There's a handful of other ones where, I feel that way about some movies too. Like I think about that with the movie Requiem for a Dream. I think about that with the movie Seven, where I consider them masterpieces. And as soon as it was done, I was like, wow, that is a beautiful movie. I never want to see it again in the rest of my life. Have you ever read a book like that? Let me know in the comments. I'm super curious if you have any thoughts on that, and if there's anything you experience in that regard.